Three men attacked a billionaire CEO, but the waiter single dad's hidden skill changed everything. Lumiere always glowed at night. Soft chandeliers, white tablecloths, quiet jazz, a place where people came to forget whatever was waiting outside. But on that Friday, three men stepped inside, not dressed for a place like this, not moving like customers. Their eyes scanned the room with a hungry, electric tension that made Noah's muscles tighten before his mind even caught up. And when their gazes locked onto her, everything inside him went cold. Arya Kim, the billionaire CEO who came to Lumiere twice a week. Always alone. Always early. Always composed. He'd served her for a year, barely 10 words exchanged, but her presence always shifted something in the room. Ice-cold, controlled. Except tonight, Noah noticed something he'd never seen before. A flicker of exhaustion behind her eyes. She sat at her usual corner table, dark hair tied back, posture straight, fingers tapping through documents on her tablet. She didn't notice the three men coming in. Didn't see the danger building like static in the air. But Noah did. His instincts, the ones he'd buried for 3 years, came awake like someone flipping a switch. He hadn't been Officer Reed for a long time. He was just a waiter now. Just a single dad with a daughter waiting at home for bedtime stories. But the way these men locked onto Arya, he knew this energy. He'd felt it right before fights, riots, domestic explosions waiting to happen. The hostess approached them with her usual smile. They ignored her completely. The tallest one, older, gray at the temples, jaw tight, spotted Arya and his whole face hardened. The younger one beside him vibrated with nervous anger. The third, heavier and quieter, followed with grim determination. They didn't wait to be seated. They didn't even pretend to. They dragged out chairs at a nearby table, metal scraping loud against the polished floor. Arya didn't look up. But several guests did. Noah grabbed a water pitcher and moved closer, pretending to refill glasses at a nearby table so he could hear. "That's her," the tall one muttered. "Arya Kim. Park Ventures. I'm sure." "So what now?" the younger one asked, voice tight. "We let her see what her decisions cost." Noah's grip tightened. His heart kicked into a faster rhythm. He looked at Arya, flawless posture, unreadable expression, completely unaware of the storm gathering 10 feet away. Then the tall man's gaze shifted. It landed on Noah, and froze. Noah felt the bottom drop out of his stomach. Recognition. He remembered them now. The older one was Trent Dalton, a man he'd arrested years ago at Rosie's bar. Nothing major, just a fight, but Trent had said something that night Noah never forgot. "I don't forget faces, Officer Reed." And now he recognized Noah, even with the beard, the Messier hair, the added weight from years of stress and single fatherhood. "Unbelievable," Trent muttered, standing. The cop turned waiter. The younger one, Logan Price, followed, jaw tense. The big one, Miguel Santos, rose slowly, like someone preparing for something he didn't want to do but felt he had no choice in. Logan moved first, straight toward Arya. Noah didn't think, he moved. He cut across the dining room, stepping between Logan and Arya's table just as Logan reached for the back of her chair. "Sir, can I help you?" Noah's voice was calm, professional, but his stance wasn't. Feet grounded, shoulders squared. "Ready." Logan's eyes flashed. "Move. I need to talk to her. I can relay a message." Noah didn't step aside. Arya finally looked up. One glance, sharp, assessing, flicked between Noah and Logan. For the first time since he'd known her, Noah saw something in her eyes. Uncertainty. And was she looking at him for reassurance? Logan tried to sidestep him. Noah moved with him. "I said move." Then Trent's voice cut through the room like a blade. "Reed, let the boy talk. Or what, you gonna arrest us again?" Noah turned. Trent smirked, recognizing the flicker in Noah's posture. Yeah, I know you. Beard doesn't change a damn thing. The dining room had gone utterly quiet. You could hear the soft jazz, the clink of a fork, someone whispering. Arya stood slowly, tablet lowering, eyes fixed on the men, but Noah felt rather than saw her step slightly closer to him, into the space where he could shield her. It shot a strange warmth through his chest. Too instinctual. Too dangerous. Miguel stepped forward. You destroyed our lives, Miss Kim. We want answers. Logan's hand twitched toward Arya again. Noah reacted instantly. He moved, fast, knocking Logan's hand away before it touched her. The sudden shift made a glass on Arya's table wobble dangerously. Back up. No. The tone wasn't a waiter's. It was a cop's. Trent stared at him. Arya stared too, with something sharper, deeper. The moment crackled with danger, heat, and the kind of tension that could explode any second. And Noah knew. This night was about to change everything. Noah didn't touch Logan hard, just enough to break the reach, but the reaction was explosive. The younger man jerked back, breath shaking, as if even that brief contact confirmed what he already believed. He was out of control, and tonight was his breaking point. Miguel's chair scraped loudly as he stepped forward. Trent's jaw tightened. Conversations inside Lumiere evaporated into strained silence. Arya exhaled sharply behind Noah, not fear exactly, but something close. The kind of breath someone gives when they realize the room has turned into a battlefield, and they are standing in the center. Noah kept his voice low, steady. Let's take this outside. All of us. Trent narrowed his eyes. Outside, huh? So you can play hero again. No, Noah said. So nobody gets hurt. He didn't look back, but he felt Arya watching him, intently, as if trying to understand him in real time. As if something about seeing him switch into this calm, commanding presence made her see him differently. Lumiere's manager, Mr. Bennett, stood stiffly behind the host's stand, half a second from calling the police. Noah gave Sarah, the other server, the signal, subtle, practiced, and she moved toward the kitchen to warn Bennett to stall. If police came now, this wouldn't de-escalate. It would explode. Follow me, Noah said to the men. He opened the back door and held it long enough for Trent, Logan, and Miguel to pass. Just as he stepped out, he glanced back at Arya. Her eyes met his. A silent question. A silent answer. Trust me. Something in her expression shifted, a crack in the armor, and she followed them out into the night. The patio was cramped, dim, half-lit by dead string lights and the city glow bleeding between brick walls. A metal table sat crooked near the center. Old grease and smoke drifted from the kitchen vents. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet, the kind of forgotten space where problems were either solved or detonated. Noah closed the door behind them. Sit. He didn't raise his voice, but all three men obeyed. Trent leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. Logan paced behind the table, rubbing his hands together like trying to hold himself together. Miguel remained still, jaw clenched, eyes tired. Arya stayed by the door at first, taking in the scene. Three men who looked like they'd been carved out of frustration, months of unemployment, and sleepless regret. Then she stepped closer, stopping beside Noah. Close enough that he felt the faint heat of her presence. Close enough that when she spoke, her voice didn't sound cold anymore, just controlled. Tell me why you came here. Logan barked a laugh. Why? Because of you. You signed a piece of paper that killed our jobs. That's why. Arya held his gaze. I signed hundreds of papers this year. Exactly. Trent leaned forward. And every one of us became collateral damage. Miguel finally spoke, voice low. My little girl had to quit her school. She pretends she doesn't care. Logan stopped pacing. My wife took our boy and left. She said I failed them. She wasn't wrong. Noah listened, calm but alert, because something else was happening under the anger. These men weren't criminals. They were drowning. Aria's expression didn't soften, but something in her eyes changed, the beginning of understanding. Trent pointed at her. You cut the funding. You closed Morrison Manufacturing. 200 people out of work. Do you have any idea what that did to us? It was a failing project, Aria said. It was bleeding money. Noah saw Logan tense. Aria didn't. She wasn't trained to see these micro-explosions of grief disguised as rage. He stepped subtly closer to her, placing himself halfway between her and the men, not blocking her, just anchoring her. She sensed it, because she didn't move away. Trent's voice dropped. Hard. Bitter. Bleeding money. We were bleeding lives. The words hit Noah more than he expected. Aria's gaze flickered, this time, genuinely shaken. I didn't know. Logan scoffed. Of course you didn't know. You never came to the factory. You never talked to us. You just looked at spreadsheets. Aria opened her mouth, not with the icy CEO tone Noah always heard, but something uncertain. Something human. Then tell me now. The patio fell into a heavy pause. The air felt suspended between two worlds, confrontation and breakthrough. Miguel rested his hands on the table. I worked at Morrison 20 years. It wasn't just a job. It was who I was. When it closed, I didn't know how to be anything else. Logan swallowed hard. I pretend I'm working when my son calls. I sit in the library filling out applications so he won't know. Trent stared at Aria, voice suddenly raw. I promised my wife we'd be okay. I lied. The truth in his tone struck even Noah. Aria took a small step forward, voice low. If I had known, maybe I would have made a different choice. Trent's jaw ticked. And what good does that do now? Noah watched all three men. Watched Aria. Watched the way she looked at them, not like data points anymore, but like people with weight, history, pain. Because tonight, Noah said quietly, you made her see what the spreadsheets never could. Aria looked at him, something unreadable flickering between gratitude and something deeper. Her voice softened. But that still doesn't give me the right to undo what happened. Noah nodded once. Then give them something new. The night held its breath. Aria inhaled, lifted her chin, and said something that changed the air in the patio completely. There's a workforce program I run, and I can make space for all three of you. Paid training. Placement. A chance to start over. Logan froze. Miguel blinked. Trent's expression cracked, just slightly. Aria added, voice steadier. If you want it, it's yours. And then the patio door swung open behind them. Mr. Bennett stood there, tense and pale. Is everything okay out here? He asked. Before anyone else answered, Aria did. Noah stays. We're not finished. Noah felt the shift. From confrontation to possibility. From distant CEO to something warmer. And Aria was looking at him lick. Mr. Bennett hovered in the doorway like someone who'd walked into the middle of a hostage negotiation. His eyes flicked from Trent's clenched fists to Logan's restless pacing to Miguel's slumped exhaustion, and then to Aria, who stood beside Noah instead of behind him. Miss Kim, he said carefully, should I call security? Or... Aria didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. No police. No security. Noah is handling it. Those words, simple, controlled, hit Noah like a physical jolt. She trusted him. Not because he was her waiter. Not because he was convenient. Because she'd seen what he did in that dining room, and she believed he could hold this together. Mr. Bennet's jaw tightened, but he backed away. The door clicked shut. Silence returned, thick and charged. Logan slumped into a chair, head in his hands. Miguel stared at the concrete. Trent stood rigid, the fight slowly draining out of him now that someone had actually listened. Arya exhaled quietly and turned toward Noah, speaking low so only he could hear. "They could have attacked me. You didn't hesitate for a second." Her voice wasn't cold anymore. Not distant. Something warmer, something that made the space between them feel too small, too electric. Noah looked at her, really looked. Her hair had loosened slightly, strands brushing her cheek. Her breathing still uneven from the near confrontation. But her eyes were steady and fixed on him, like she was seeing him in a way she never had when he was just the man who brought her sparkling water. He had to force himself to look away before the moment deepened into something neither of them could afford. "Let's finish this," he said softly. Arya nodded and addressed the men. "The training program is real. Renewable energy installation, logistics, advanced manufacturing." Logan lifted his head, eyes red. "What's the catch?" "No catch," Arya said. "Just commitment." Then glanced at Noah. Their eyes held for a moment longer than was appropriate. "Because someone reminded me tonight that people aren't numbers. And I should have known that already." Heat flickered through Noah's chest at that. He felt it, felt her words directed not at the group, but at him. Logan finally whispered, "I'll try it." Miguel nodded slowly. "Me too." All eyes turned to Trent. He stared at Arya, then at Noah, then at the patio door, like he could walk away and end this whole fragile moment before it broke. Finally he muttered, "Fine. But I want it in writing." "You'll have it Monday," Arya said. The tension deflated, as if the night finally exhaled. Trent stood. "No hard feelings, Reed." Noah shook his hand. "Take care of yourself." Miguel nodded at Arya. "Thank you." Logan paused on his way out, voice small but sincere. "Really, thank you." When the door closed behind them, silence washed over the patio, this time calm, not dangerous. Arya released a long breath she'd held too long. Noah felt the shift immediately. The danger was gone, but something else had taken its place, the lingering charge between the two of them, quiet but undeniable. "You could have called the police," Arya said softly. "Most people would have. Why didn't you?" Noah looked at her, at the faint tremble still in her hands, the vulnerability she didn't bother to hide. "Because scared people turn into desperate people when you corner them. And desperate people do things they can't take back." She held his gaze. "You've seen that before." He nodded once. "Too many times." Arya stepped a little closer, not touching, but close enough that his pulse picked up. "Then I'm glad it was you who stepped in tonight." Noah swallowed, the moment tightening between them like a pulled thread. "I just did what anyone should have done." Her voice dropped. "No, Noah. Most people wouldn't have." For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then the patio door swung open. Mr. Bennet again. "Miss Kim, your table is ready whenever you—" Arya didn't take her eyes off Noah. "I'm not finished here." The manager blinked, baffled, then retreated again. Only when the door shut did Arya finally breathe out and let her shoulders loosen. "This night," she murmured, "has been nothing like I expected." Noah gave a faint, tired smile. "Tell me about it." She almost smiled back. Almost. The electricity between them buzzed like a storm about to break. The moment stretched between them, quiet, fragile, almost intimate, until Arya finally drew in a slow breath and stepped back. Not far, just enough to tuck the emotions away again behind her controlled composure. "You should get back inside," she said softly. "Your shift isn't over." Noah nodded, though he didn't move. Something in her expression told him she wasn't actually ready for him to walk away. Only after a long beat did Arya turn toward the door. She paused before pushing it open, glancing back at him with an expression he couldn't decipher, something thoughtful, something that lingered a half-second too long. Then she slipped inside, the door clicking behind her. Noah exhaled slowly, grounding himself. He could still feel the echo of the danger, and the warmth of her trust. It took him a full 30 seconds to steady his pulse before he returned to the dining room. Lumiere's glow felt different now. Conversations had resumed, but every guest tried not to stare at Noah as he passed. Wordless curiosity followed him like shadows. He cleared plates, refilled drinks, apologized for the disturbance. His hands knew the motions, even though his mind was still outside on the patio replaying every second. When he reached Arya's table, she was speaking quietly with Mr. Bennet at the host stand. Her posture was straight, but her expression held a subtle intensity, one she only used in negotiations. Noah couldn't hear what she said, but he didn't need to. Mr. Bennet's rigid stance softened. The anger drained from his features, replaced with reluctant respect. When he finally nodded, Arya turned slightly, her gaze landing on Noah across the dining room. She gave him the smallest, almost invisible nod. A promise. A reassurance. Something unspoken but unmistakably meant for him. Noah felt something warm and dangerous stir in his chest. Arya collected her things, coat, tablet, a sleek black pen, and walked toward the exit. As she passed him, she stopped just long enough for her voice to brush the space between them like a quiet confession. "I'll take care of it." Her perfume, clean, understated, passed by him in a faint cloud, lingering just a moment too long. Noah swallowed hard. "Thank you." Her eyes lifted to his once more. "No, thank you." And then she stepped out into the night, leaving a ripple of silence behind her. Mr. Bennet approached a minute later. "Noah. Office. Now." His voice was stern, but not furious anymore. Still, Noah braced himself. He'd expected this moment since the second he stepped between Logan and Arya. In the cramped, dim manager's office that smelled like stale coffee, Noah sat across from Mr. Bennet, hands resting on his knees. Mr. Bennet rubbed his temples. "I should fire you. You left tables unattended, walked 3 hostile men through my restaurant, and took a private conversation onto the patio." Noah nodded. "I understand. But—" Mr. Bennet sighed heavily. "Miss Kim explained everything." Noah stiffened. "She didn't need to." "She insisted." Bennet cut in. "She said you prevented something that could have gotten this place shut down. Said if I fired you, she'd find a new restaurant." The words made Noah flinch. He didn't want his job tied to anyone's influence, especially not hers. "I don't want special treatment," Noah said quietly. Mr. Bennet shook his head. "This isn't special treatment. This is me recognizing that you handled something most people would have panicked through." He leaned back. "You're not fired. Just don't ever do something like that without telling me first." A breath Noah didn't know he'd been holding finally released. "Yes, sir." "Good. Now get back out there." The rest of the shift passed in a blur. By 11:15, the restaurant slowed to its usual late-night quiet. Noah wiped tables, refilled condiment trays, and stacked the last clean coffee cups. It was the familiar rhythm of a life he understood. But his mind wasn't in Lumiere anymore. It kept drifting back, to Arya's voice, her expression on the patio, the way she stood a little closer to him than she needed to. Sarah nudged him on her way past. "You okay? You look like you're in a daze." Noah forced a smile. "Long night." That's one way to put it. If those guys had gotten any closer to Miss Kim. She shuddered and walked off. Noah grabbed his coat and headed toward the back door. His phone vibrated as he stepped into the quiet parking garage. A text from an unknown number. He froze the moment he saw the name. "This is Arya Kim. Mr. Bennett gave me your contact. I'd like to speak with you when you have time. No pressure, but I have a proposition you might want to hear." Noah's breath caught. A proposition? His mind leapt to terrible possibilities. Legal trouble, consequences, police reports, but something in her wording felt different. Calmer. More intentional. He typed slowly. "I'm free tomorrow afternoon." The reply came instantly. 2 p.m. "I'll send you the address." Noah stared at the screen, his pulse quickening. Her number. Her request. Her trust. This wasn't a normal aftermath. Something had shifted tonight, between her and the world, and between her and him. He checked the time. 11:23. Sophie would be asleep. Mrs. Alvarez would be waiting on the couch. Holding his phone, Noah headed to his car, unsteady, curious, and feeling more alive than he had in 3 years. Something had changed tonight. And tomorrow, everything might change again. Noah barely slept. Every time he closed his eyes, the night replayed in flashes. The moment Logan reached for Arya's chair, the instant Noah stepped in front of her, the way her breath caught when danger brushed close. The way she'd looked at him afterward. Like she wasn't expecting someone to protect her without an agenda. Like it had meant something. By morning, the adrenaline had faded into something quieter, something heavier, a blend of curiosity, anxiety, and an underlying pulse he didn't want to name. Sophie was bright and talkative during breakfast, waving a crayon drawing in his face, a stick-figure family, 3 people holding hands under a sun with a smile. She never drew just the 2 of them. Always 3. "Is that me?" Noah asked, pointing at the tall stick figure. "No," she giggled. "This is you. And that one is me. And that one is—" She paused, searching her imagination. "Someone else." Noah froze for a split second. Someone else. He swallowed, kissed her forehead, and tried not to read too much into the tiny prophecy of a child who didn't know anything about last night. At 1:30, Mrs. Alvarez arrived to babysit. Sophie hugged him so tight he had to gently pry her arms away. "I'll be back soon," he promised. Then he stepped out into a world that suddenly felt bigger than yesterday. The office building Arya sent him to was all glass and quiet power. Park Ventures swept across the entire 15th floor, the kind of space built for people whose decisions landed on news headlines. The receptionist greeted him with a knowing smile. "Mr. Reed. Miss Kim will see you now." He followed her through corridors of glass-walled conference rooms, cutting through a maze of polished floors and whisper-soft lighting, until they reached a corner office with floor-length windows overlooking the city. Arya stood by the glass, silhouetted against the skyline. No dark suit today. No armor. Just a soft gray sweater, dark jeans, hair loose around her shoulders. She looked real. Human. And impossibly more striking like this. "Noah," she said gently. She said his name like she was trying it out for the first time. "Arya," he replied, and something unspoken passed between them, acknowledgment of last night, the fear, the trust, the almost there electric moment on the patio. She gestured to a seat beside hers, not across from her desk, but next to her, facing the city. "Equal." "Thank you for coming," she said. "I know Saturdays aren't ideal for business. I figured you had a good reason." "I do." She held his eyes for a long moment before she finally spoke. "I want to offer you a job." Noah froze. She continued, calm but earnest. "What you did last night wasn't luck. It was skill. You saw danger before anyone else. You stepped in before things collapsed. You listened when others wanted to explode." She paused. Park Ventures needs someone who understands people like that. He couldn't look away from her. You want me to, what? Teach de-escalation? No, she said softly. I want you to do what you did last night. For us. For the communities our investments touch. Before damage happens, not after. She slid a folder across the desk. He opened it. Community Relations Manager. Salary, triple his yearly income at Lumiere. Benefits. Insurance. Opportunities. Everything a single father dreams of. Everything that terrified him. I'm not qualified, Noah said quietly. I'm a waiter. I was a cop, but I left because you think you failed, Arya finished gently. He stiffened. She stepped closer without hesitation, her voice low. You told those men last night about the woman you couldn't save. You've been punishing yourself for it ever since. Her eyes softened. But what I saw last night wasn't a failure. It was someone who refuses to walk away when people are hurting. Her words hit deeper than he wanted them to. You trusted your judgment again, she said, and it was right. Noah looked down at the folder, heart pounding. What if I make a mistake again? He whispered. Arya didn't answer immediately. Instead, she moved even closer, close enough that he could feel the warmth radiating off her sweater, close enough that the air between them tightened. Noah, she said softly, everyone makes mistakes. What matters is whether you're brave enough to step back into the world anyway. The honesty in her voice cut right through him. She wasn't just offering him a job. She was offering him a chance to stop hiding. I know you're scared, she added. But I'm asking you anyway. Noah closed the folder slowly. The weight of the decision felt overwhelming, but also grounding. Purposeful. He lifted his eyes to hers. She held his gaze, steady and unflinching. And in that moment, he realized something. He didn't want to live afraid anymore. Not for himself. Not for Sophie. Not for the life he kept pretending was enough. Noah took a breath. I don't need the weekend, he said. Arya's eyes widened slightly. My answer is yes. Silence settled between them, not empty, but full. She let out a quiet breath he didn't know she'd been holding. A slow smile tugged at the corner of her mouth, not a CEO smile, not a public one. Something warmer. Welcome to Park Ventures, she murmured. And for a moment, just one, neither of them moved. There was only the quiet hum of the city outside and the subtle gravity pulling them closer. It didn't cross a line. It didn't need to. It was enough to know that something had started. Something neither of them quite understood yet. That night, Noah watched Sophie sleep. Her drawings scattered across her bedroom floor, every one with 3 stick figures holding hands. Maybe kids saw things adults couldn't. Maybe she knew their family wasn't done growing. Noah stood in the doorway, the city lights spilling across the carpet, and felt something he hadn't felt in 3 years. Ready. Ready for whatever Monday brought. Ready to step back into the world. Ready to stop surviving and start living. And somewhere across the city, Arya Kim looked out her window, thinking of a waiter who wasn't just a waiter, a protector who wasn't just a protector, a man who'd stood between her and danger without hesitation. A man she wanted to see again. Tomorrow was Sunday. And Monday. Everything would change.